Hey fam, what's going on? This is Jessica Pickens. Welcome to Pickens Realities, our blended family truths podcast.
We've talked about this before, and the crazy thing is, like Calvin was talking about, he had a trial run, and even my family would say, how do you deal with that? And I think the preparation of being a single parent for a while, having 3 children, prepared me for when she would call me and be like, hey, I need to be gone for a week. And so, like we were talking about, there was just another one at it, and so it was 4 of them.
Yeah, I used to have to travel a lot for work.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, and she was gone so much.
We used to be starving. Eating the cardboard boxes, the cereal and the box. No, I'm joking.
So she traveled a lot for work and just would be, wherever. And having had the
not just wherever. I was doing work stuff. Don't be just
He meant like
running the streets. He was running the streets.
Just running the streets.
Crazy. Don't be just wherever. I was working.
But having been a single parent for a little while, and her being gone, I think that prepped me for being able to handle that because I was already used to it. And when you add just another child, it wasn't a big deal. And so I was able to do the laundry, cook, clean, and all those things. Didn't I?
They did their own laundry.
Okay, whatever.
And we had 2 mothers in town who would come by the house.
So
and help.
this is my truth.
There was support.
I told you, get ready to be ridiculed.
This is my truth.
Come on now. Now you go. Okay.
But
Almost is never enough.
Right. But my point for that is just being able to have compassion and understand. And this is my philosophy. Somebody has to do it.
Somebody has to do it.
Somebody has to do it. And I've been okay with her career. And I've had conversations with brothers. They're like, how do you deal with that? I'm like, either she doing it or I'm doing it. And so it's not a big deal. But understanding that what they are doing is part of your quality of life.
It is.
And so it is a hard rub sometimes because you're like, and I've told her there used to be an apple on the counter that had numbers because we were counting down to like Christmas.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do I need to take a number? And I think saying that helped her be like, wait, let me back up. So it's important to hear that while what you're doing is important, but like Jess said, how much of it is necessary? And that's hard as a man because you're like, I've got to do this in order to provide and make certain that she feels comfortable. So just my take.
So what do you think that while you're trying to find work-life harmony, because you have 98 jobs, right? And 17 kids.
Wait, we part of the problem because he.
Right.
Yep.
No,
she like,
no, for real.
I don't mind this one though. There's some other jobs I like. I don't mind.
What do you think you need from both of you? What do you think you need from each other to be able to have that harmony? For it to be more
harmonious.
Whatever, amicable or less like, hey, you going somewhere again? Like, what's going on? Like, what do you think you guys can give to each other, for reassurance and stuff like that?
For me, one of the biggest things is transparency. And we just talked about this the other day. There's a difference between honesty and transparency. Don't wait until I ask you and then you tell me what's going on, right? Proactively, come tell me. So he'll be like, okay, babe, Monday, I got this. Tuesday, I'll be with Jessica. Wednesday, I'm going to do the inspections. Whatever it may be, we go through, we sync our calendars. Okay, and I'll tell him, okay, I got chapter meeting on Saturday. On Tuesday, I got to take Coach and get his hair cut. So we really do try to be open with each other about our schedules, and then we can plan around that. So I'm not thinking like, wait, I didn't know you were going to be going all day. I thought you were coming back home. Now I might be feeling some sort of way if we plan something. So I think the transparency for me is the biggest thing. He is proactive with telling me certain jobs that I might not be crazy about, but the transparency. I just need to know what's going on. Don't have me in the dark.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Okay.
For you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We try our best to communicate. Like she said, we sync calendars. I mean, even if I'm stopping at a store on the way home, I try to communicate that just so she knows what's going on and just kind of feels. Even though something like she said, some of the jobs she's not comfortable with, like any event thing that I do, I'm around a lot of women, and
the club,
and it's late at night sometimes, so
FaceTime me while you're there.
Yeah. So, you know, sometimes I try to.
And I leave him alone the whole time.
Yeah, but she just be.
It doesn't. I mean, most women don't want their man at no club environment on a regular basis. Like, come on, and I'm never around.
And
come
you really
on.
love your man,
And he's charismatic and stuff. And he's, hey, how you doing? And
Right.
she's like, he's flirting with me. So I know what's out there.
Right.
Yeah, because my knuckle's strong.
Right. Okay. Let him know something. Don't try it.
I don't play
Don't
about
try
me.
it. Okay. So as you guys are blending, what is one of the biggest pivoting points you've had to maintain as you're blending your family?
To maintain, I would say the biggest thing to adjust was once we all lived in the same household was the biggest adjustment. But you said maintain.
As far as schedules are concerned, as far as, I don't know, because the kids don't live with you guys majority of the time.
Well, my 5-year-old lives with us.
Right.
His come every other weekend.
So are they in sports? Like, what
And holidays and stuff, he gets them as
right.
well.
So is that like extremely hard to maintain? Is that like because
Sometimes, depending on what we have going on, because there's times that he may get the children and he already has a job booked with you guys or a job booked somewhere else. So then it's now I got to look at my schedule and I might have to say, I'm not going to be there. So what do we do? The good thing is his eldest is 16. So he's able to help with like the youngest if I have to go somewhere. But I think that's the biggest thing that we just trying to maintain, like the schedules, I guess, and making sure that we're covered. Is there food in the house? I'm real big on, okay, all right, the boys coming on Friday. What are we going to eat?
Yep.
So the grocery list, we having tacos on Friday. I'll make spaghetti and catfish on Saturday, whatever it may be. I'm always, he's more of reactive. He's going to wait till they get there and he'll worry about it. It's Tuesday. They coming on Friday. I'm going through the list. I need ground beef. I need that, to prepare for that. Yeah.
So I had a quick question.
Go ahead.
About something that you said a moment ago. You said, he's at the club and you don't want to know about it. Is that response from any previous relationships, or is it just because?
No, I've never dated a man with this type of hobby and profession, I should say. Because I call it a hobby because he does enjoy it, but then it's a profession at the same time for him.
Right.
So he's really having fun in a lot of these situations. I've never been with, all the men I've ever dated, either a corporate or just true blue collar. So for him, this is my first experience. So the way that I feel about it is not based off of anything that I've experienced. It's just what I've experienced being with him and having to be open and understanding to that he's going to be in certain environments. But then he has to also understand that there are some times where I'm uncomfortable. That's legitimate feelings. How would you feel if it was me in those environments, right? The level of trust that you have to have for your partner when they're in these environments.
Yep. So the reason I asked that is because we had challenges with baggage from previous relationships. Like one time when we hadn't been together maybe a month, and I went to the grocery store, and my sister lived across the street from the grocery store, and so I didn't come straight back. And so she pulled up on me like, "What you doing over here?" And I'm like, "I stopped to talk to my sister." She like, "I thought you was going to the store." And I'm like, "What is this?" But it's because she had things that happened in previous relationships.
Oh, well, she didn't trust you.
That she didn't trust me, not outwardly, but just potentially subliminally. And then conversely, I remember there was a time, she was working late in state government, and I woke up in the middle of the night. You're like, "Wait, where's my mate?" So I sit up in the bed, she's not there.
Oh.
And
You have to understand, I was in Polytech
Right.
session.
Right.
Like
So-
we had
At the club,
right. So
my club was the Capitol building in
Right.
Springfield.
So when I woke up, I broke in, and she wasn't there. I broke into this cold sweat. I'm like, where is she? And I went back in my mind in previous relationships when they weren't there. I knew what that meant.
They was on some BS.
So I started getting dressed, and I didn't know where I was going, but I was going out to see what I could find her. But just as I got dressed, I was about to leave the bedroom. The phone rang, and it was her. So I answered. And I could hear the noise. I knew where she was. And she was like, "Oh, I was just going to leave you a message." And then I remember after I hung up the phone, I felt horrible that, I was correlating what I knew to where what I used to know to where I was. And God gave me something. That which you knew, which is behind you, is not what you know. And so when you blend a family, in even any relationship, you have to be careful, especially if you've gone through a divorce and it may be baggage you're carrying over. that things that your new mate does that might remind you of things that happened in your divorce or previous relationship, you have to be careful of bringing that over. So
I agree. I agree with that, because I think just human nature is a defense mechanism. A lot of times when you react in certain ways, because you might have been through a hurt before, you don't want to go through that hurt again, or you might feel like, I don't want to be out here looking stupid because you sneaking around. But I would say, me personally, I think a pretty good job giving every man a clean slate. What the last one did, he's not him. So if I have any trust issues with you, it's because what you have shown me, like what his behavior is towards me. I don't care what the other man did, because he's not him.
Right.
So I'll trust you till you give me a reason not to. I'm one of those. My friends think I'm crazy. Has he given you a reason to trust him? I'm like, but he hasn't given me a reason not to. Yeah. I'm going to give it to you until you start chipping away at it. Right. And then now you're going to have to deal with whatever that may be if you chip away at it.
Which is absolutely phenomenal, because most people, like you're saying, are not built like that, right? And so we talk a lot about, the need for folks to check the baggage, right? Like unpack. Like, what have you been through? What have you gone through? Whatever scenario happened that landed you with your first marriage not working out after 13 years, assessing that, what you talked about, Calvin, that you were mature enough and blessed to be able to go, wait a minute, let me think through this. Okay, I know not to do that, or let me pivot and do this, from being able to having grown up in a blended family, and then having a blended family in your first marriage, and then now as you prep for your encore and last marriage, we gonna speak that in Jesus' name, right?
Amen.
And last one.
Wow.
All right, we need an offering.
That
too. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's super important. So it's a blessing that you two. I think one thing to note. It's a blessing that you all had life maturity, experience maturity on your side, that you have been able to prep in a way that is mitigating, and preventing, really, mitigating things up front and preventing, because when's the big day?
July 26th.
Still.
Oh my gosh, 6 days away from my birthday.
It's July 2025.
You were gonna say something or ask a question, Calvin.
No, yeah, I was gonna say, kind of piggybacking off of that. A lot of guys, when they go through a rocky or rough relationship, especially a marriage, they're like, I ain't doing this again.
Right,
2 times around.
Right.
And especially with me, just out the frying pan back into the fire. A lot of people I talk to, like,
they shocked.
You doing what?
Right.
And I was just like, bro, it's the woman, man. It ain't so much, just like I'm just, all right, who's next? You know what I'm saying? It was like, it's the woman. The woman that I met, a woman that I was just like, okay, I could do this again with her.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but if I had that mindset that, because of what I went through with one woman, and just generalized, put every woman in a certain type of category, I would have never found, my good thing. So
I know.
Actually, what we did, our experiences, it helps us appreciate each other more now. We say it all the time. The relationship that I was in, a long-term relationship prior to him, and it was not a good one. And he went through a lot of very difficult things in his marriage. It wasn't good for him. So when we met each other, we both feel like a breath of fresh air. I'm like, I ain't got to argue with him all the time. I ain't got to ask him to do stuff that he just know he should be doing. I'm like, what?
You meddling now.
I'm like, he's punctual. He on time.
You meddling.
Right,
I'm like,
because if he wants to,
you're right. He'll wash the dishes. I don't have to ask.
I do
Like,
wash the dishes.
So it's like it's an appreciation that I think I would have always had for him, but coming out of a situation where I wasn't being poured into at all.
Yeah.
It's like a breath of fresh air, and he says he feels the same way. So I think that we truly do appreciate this relationship, and we both just want to just do whatever we can. Like, that's why we have to keep the open lines of communication. What's going on? How you feeling? Are you good? You need me to change something? Am I, because we both want this so bad,
Yeah. Every now and then I do this thing where I be like, "Is you happy?"
Yeah. and he cares about what my.
Are we good? Are we good?
Well, and I would challenge you. I'm gonna just throw this out here. I would challenge you that maybe think about changing your question a little bit and throw it out there and say, where's your joy level? Because happy implies, happy can be temporary, but getting to a place of having a constant status of joy, because life's right. Like you can have just a bad day. Whatever on the full-time job, you gotta go do another one. You already tired. You may not be feeling well, and so you at one of your events, and the club is clubbing. There's all sorts of things that have the propensity to distract or detract from your level of happiness. It is more. I have learned, in my opinion, that operating in a constant state of peace and joy, no matter what, is the goal, right? Because I can be happy about one, but then I get a piece of news that zaps that immediately. So when you're able to find that balance of constant peace and joy, no matter what's going on, yeah, I'm mad at you, or yeah, you ticked me off, or yeah, this didn't go right today. However, I'm still grateful. What you looking like that for?
So I got a question for you. Do you feel like your spouse is responsible for your happiness?
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. No.
You have to be comfortable with who you are as a person and where you are, where you're headed. You have to be, if you're not whole, you can't be whole for them or help them. And we used to say, people say a marriage is 50-50, and it's not. You have to be 100%, and they have to be 100%. Now you have 200%. So if you're having a bad day, if you're only at 80, so she's at 120.
Let me help you. It's okay.
You had it right. 120.
What
you
you're
my
trying
point.
to explain is that what we would explain it and discuss
Can
it.
we
It's
cut
okay.
this part where I can't add? The part where I can't add?
Relationships, people think they're addition.
Yeah.
And they're not. They're multiplication.
Yeah.
Meaning, it's not half of a person plus half of a person equals one whole relationship. It's one whole person times one whole person.
This is why
equals
I keep her
one
around.
whole relationship. And so he absolutely is not responsible for my joy, and I'm not responsible for his. Period. And this is still a live conversation. I had to say to him a couple weeks ago, like, I'm gonna need you to go get that figured out with Jesus, because that's not my responsibility. And I'm serious. Like, there are still some things where you go, and I'm going, there's a root there, and I can tell you what I'm discerning and what I'm sensing. If you agree, and I can't tell you that I can tell you what I know the Lord showed me or told me. I do, but I don't, but I'm like.
But I don't, but I do.
But I back up, and did I not say, and I'm like, it's not my responsibility, and that's not fair.
Yeah.
I'm not, it's not my responsibility to.
Wait, hold on. What you got?
It's my responsibility to be who I'm being called to be in the relationship, and if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, then that should facilitate my what I'm responsible for. As far as now, I'm not, if I'm out here cheating and if I'm out here just acting crazy, disrespecting them, there are things that can equate to taking away a person's happiness and joy, right? Yeah. So do I have a responsibility to act right? Absolutely. But I am not responsible for his wholeness and happiness, which again, most times people are struggling with where they are, how they feel in life. A lot of times, but at least for me and what we've experienced, you're dealing with roots of stuff that's internal for you.
Okay, so I do got a question.
But hold on, because
what I was going to say is, I do not feel that anyone is responsible for my happiness, but I do feel that there are people that are responsible for my unhappiness at times. So that I could be just fine, but if there's something that he could do that could trigger or hurt me or upset me, at that moment, he's responsible for my unhappiness.
Oh, I got two things. Hold on.
Agreed. Stay right there. But to my that's the exact point why I said I submit. Change your terminology.
Yes.
It's not happiness you're after. It's joy. It's peace and joy. Because as long as I've got my constant state of peace and joy, because he's gonna make you mad. You gonna make him mad. He gonna get on your nerves. You gonna get on his nerves.
Absolutely.
But through all of that, if you're able to go, whoo, Lord Jesus, I'm glad I know you, because I'd be chopping him in his throat right now. If you know.
She has done that.
And so,
right hand or left hand.
but if you, be like, you know,
You see how jump
It's a reflex.
Right, yeah, I know.
so you are right. People are people. And
are
they
people.
do stuff that make you angry, piss you off, make you sad, make you glad.
This is a family show. You
It
can't use that word
is.
pissed
Oh,
off.
sorry. Make you
Oh, this is
terribly
the most
upset.
Eden. Okay.
What you got?
So that's why when he asked that question, are you happy? He's not really talking about in general. He really means us.
Yeah.
That question is us. Are we good? Are we connected? Like, how are you feeling with us? That's what I know
Understood.
what he means when he asked me that.
Okay.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I just
Oh,
also
okay.
submitting for you on purpose.
Okay.
That for y'all to contemplate together is a question more about where we, that look for that longevity. To me, like you said, happy, unhappy, happy, unhappy versus when you say the word joy. In my opinion, it resonates differently.
Okay.
Go ahead,
That's
Jay.
why too. Like, we've had talks about this earlier that there'll be times where maybe I may not be on 10 or I might be on 2, and if I don't communicate with her what it is, then she'll take it personally.
That's right.
Yep.
And that's why
Like, did I do something?
yeah, and it would affect her mood if she doesn't really know what's going on with me, or if I'm not communicating. So that's the reason why we try to be open and communicate, so that if there's something going on with her, like right now she has a friend that's dying, right, and that's affecting her emotionally.
So sorry.
You know, and I have to just really be soft and patient and understanding with
cognizant,
that,
yeah.
because and not take however she may be feeling personal, because I know she's going through so much. Now, if I had that, like, oh, she ain't happy or she in a bad mood, so I'm being in a bad mood, and it's just like, no, it's like, what's going on? What can I do? Just
And it's
Yeah,
my job
yeah,
to keep him
that-
abreast of what's
yeah.
going on.
That's right.
I'm
I'm like,
But
this is what I found out today.
Again,
Kudos
like
to
you
y'all.
were saying,
Communication, man.
But
It
they
is,
have
woo,
gone
that
through
is
what
so
they've gone
awesome.
through, so they're able
Yeah.
to communicate. So I
That
wanna-
maturity.
I want to
You
go
had
back
another
to what you were
question.
saying, like you feel like people are responsible for your unhappiness, right?
At times.
So
yes.
At times.
right, at times, so people may trigger you. So something that I read, learned, and saw, I saw a professor speaking about triggers. And he was in a panel, and he was basically letting people, well, this person did this because blah, 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 and it affected me, and blah, 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 right? So he was saying triggers are not anyone else's fault. Like, you reacting to a trigger is no one else's fault but yours.
Okay.
Because a trigger is a trigger because you allow it to be a trigger. So if they push that button not supposed to be there for them to push, basically. So, that was just like a little...
Did he give you the recipe on how to get rid of the button?
So it's more.
I got
so
some buddies
like,
that's there. I don't.
Like
I
therapy.
can tell you how I got through
So
some.
okay,
but because I'm with you.
Therapy, and it's
Yeah.
like basically okay. For example, something that used to trigger me was talking about my dad's previous person.
Okay.
Right. So had I not been healed from that trigger or worked through it and processed it, analyzed it, broke it down, all the things. You sitting here today and your name being what your name is, I could have been side-eyeing you, tweak with you a little bit, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because that triggers me because of what I experienced. But because I've, worked through, went to therapy, talked about it, hashed out why it affected me the way that it did and why it was still affecting me at this big age, I'm not looking at you sideways or trying to be shady towards you. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like to address sometimes people can make you unhappy, I feel like you have to figure out what those triggers are.
What's at the root
and
of
be
it.
willing to address within yourself why that is, why that still affects you or has a stronghold on you.
And remember, they don't know what the trigger
Until you
is.
react.
Yeah. And if you don't say, I don't like it when the socks are on the floor and he's always leaving his socks and you just blow up while he's doing the dishes. He's like, what is this about?
Yes,
But,
yeah, I agree.
But it's about the socks. But if you don't say the socks remind me of X and that's why it triggers me, then he doesn't get the opportunity to say, my bad, I didn't know that. I'll pick up my socks.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
I always say I don't hold anybody responsible for, or I don't have hard feelings against anyone if I have not communicated to them the hurt that I feel that I'm receiving from them.
That one.
They're not
I
psychic.
need to work on that.
Yeah, they're
one.
not psychic.
That one.
But as soon as I bring it to you and say,
And you still
when
don't.
you step on my toe,
It hurts.
it bursts. And when that happened, I can't walk. Next time you step on my toe, I hold you fully responsible because we've had this communication.
Yeah, people have to be held accountable.
Yeah.
And but Loki, that be how I am, and I like you got one time. I'm gonna tell you once. Because you're gonna remember what you want. You remember everything.
Remember
about the
everything
best.
else. Yeah.
But you, bro, like we here. So I feel what you're saying. Like if you do it after I told you,
You knew then.
now I'm not.
First time it could be a mistake, but after we've talked about it,
You're intentionally
you
playing
knew.
with me.
You knew.
I will to circle back briefly on your question of did the professor give the magic formula or magic wand to how do you do that? How do you get to a place where things don't trigger you anymore, that you take ownership of, no one, I'm not going to give. Basically, I'm sure you all have heard different variations of not giving people that sort of power over you and whatnot. And to Jayla's point, the therapy, the counseling, and getting to the root. And for me, it was releasing and forgiving people and releasing and forgiving myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And honestly, because at the end of the day, if we understand that we're not perfect, right? And we want people to give us room and grace and mercy when we want it for ourselves. And so being willing to give that to other people when it comes to if someone has done something that has caused you, trauma, pain, hurt, disappointment, all of the above. But then the at the same time, then the counterpart to that is exactly what you said though, D. Then you have an obligation to make sure, are they aware, that, because again, we were talking about this last night with some family members. If you don't confront people that are doing stuff that are causing you harm to your family, your blend, and particularly in blended family situations, there's a lot of layers to navigate, right? Like having to work through getting to a place to where each of you has good, healthy civil relationship with the other bio parent, and that prayerfully all things come around to where everyone is in a different place, at least of civility and peace for the sake of, to us, the kids. It's all about the kids, right? But when I tell you and say, hey, like you said, you stepped on my big toe and it causes it to hurt. And whenever you do that, So now if you keep doing it, but then you have to hold people accountable and then put in the proper boundaries to protect your heart, your mental health, your you have to do what you have to do. But if you don't ever express to that person, hey, this is what hurt me, this is what upset me, this is what made me angry, because you may not know what's on the other side of what's going on. And a lot of times, if someone could have misinformation or no information, and sometimes it's just people battling their own demons, right? They've got ingrained unhealthy characteristics and habits from how they were raised. But the only way that we can do our best to move forward as an individual and as families is to call that stuff out, get the help that we need, right? Like, because I have had to learn. It is safer for me. There are some things that I need to say to my therapist and or my sister, who's my spiritual mom. I'm not going to come and say it to him first. Because I would need to protect his heart and our space. And y'all know this thing. Sometimes your mind just be, man, you got to process through it. But getting to the root of going, okay, why does this person still send me to the moon? Like, what's really still there? Once I discovered that it was about, I had to deal with my insecurity issues. I was hurt because I was made to feel less than, I wasn't important, or this, that, and the other. So whenever, a voice can just, man, whoosh. But once I got to the root of it, right, and understood who I was and who I was in God, and going, you know what, they mess up, I mess up, level set and learn to love myself and go, okay, I'm gonna do the best I can. But now I address, I level set my audience in my life arena. Who's on the front row? Who's in the midsection? Who in the balcony? And who do I need to put out the building? Because it's not healthy for me to limit those triggers and being upset. Game changer, and it's a forever process. To your point,
process.
But
so, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say I hope that's helpful to you or to anybody else. The therapy, as Jayla said, we're huge. Calvin hears it 12 times a show. I'd be like, get the clinical help, get the counseling.
But
get
I have
the
a question
counseling.
about that. I have a question about that. I do think the therapy is absolutely necessary. But one thing that I think people struggle with, and I would love some advice if you guys have been through it. Say, for instance, you had an issue. You get past it. And something else might trigger it occasionally. When you go into this therapy session, now you have to rehash it. Those feelings are coming back up that you thought maybe were healed and they aren't. How do you have regular therapy sessions without getting angry all over again about whatever it is that came up in those sessions?
So I think it's key, what you guys have said multiple times, is communication. So the reason that you're having therapy, you already know why. So it's not like you're going to get surprised per se when you get there. And hopefully you have had some conversations because you know why you're going. So it's not like it's a surprise that you're like, poof, we're here because of this. Yeah. But if something does come up, some of the therapists, I shouldn't say some, the therapists that we have dealt with say, this is a safe space. And whatever comes out, you're not allowed to talk about it when you leave here.
Oh.
And so you have to.
That was one of so for us, like that's different therapists may be different, but for us, we have had good therapists that teach us, give us rules to the game.
Yeah.
So you're not mad all over again.
Correct.
Right, yes. Right. And so that's important. So even if you can take this as a tidbit, even if the therapist doesn't say that, just say, hey, this is a safe space, and whatever we discuss here, we're not going to talk about it once we get out. Until you get to a place where it is not a scab that you're ripping off. It's more of a conversation. I'm glad we got that out. I didn't know that you felt like that. Or, man, I shouldn't have done this. But that's how you should do it.
Or you agree on, like, hey, we need some time to process, de-escalate. There's some unfinished questions in my head. Can we plan to talk about that? Instead of getting in the car and you...
Well, I didn't know you felt that way.
Right.
Right. Mad.
So kind of just...
Part of it, too, is, I think that's definitely one approach that helps. But I also, I think that probably the more you talk about it, it desensitizes it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, let's say there was a trigger. All right. Boom, let's talk about it again. Boom, let's talk about it again. Boom, we talking about now it's just like it's so normal. It's just like, okay, that was something that happened. You know what I'm saying? Versus like I'm avoid it. Then when it pops up, it's like, oh God, you know what I'm saying? So,
but you got to be careful.
You're saying talking about it more often is helpful.
But
just desensitize it.
But you have to be careful with that, because it's okay for you to mention it, but it might not be okay, because every time you say it, it's lighting a fuse that eventually might blow up until it gets dealt with. So you got
to figure out. It's different people.
It depends on what it is. Right?
That's fair. That's fair.
There's all that, but I feel like essentially across all boards it's a choice, because going to therapy, you're going to I'll use this perfect example: going to the gym. You go to the gym to work out, to build yourself, right? You're in there, you're hurting, you're letting out all your anger and aggression from the week. Jimmy John and Timmy piss you off, like you're letting all that out. And then you make a choice to not be mad anymore when you leave there. And you make a choice. And I feel like what you're saying, it's like desensitizing, but I feel like desensitizing can almost make it to where when everything else starts going bad, you're desensitized to it. So you're like programming your brain. But I feel like it's a choice to, like, when you talk about it, let yourself feel all those emotions, let yourself get everything out, and then make a choice to, okay, I've gotten it out, I've talked through it. Because my therapist, which is one of their therapists, she would tell me, like, we would talk about it 1 or 2 times. She'd be like, okay, so we've talked about it. You done cried about it. What you gonna do about it? Are you gonna hold it and keep on crying about it, or are you going to let it go, release it, forgive yourself, forget the people, and move on? So that way now, because I'm an open book now, I can talk to anybody about anything that I go through. And sometimes I do cry because it does bring up certain emotions, but I'm not, it's only one person, one thing that I'm at a point where, like, if I see you to this day, I'm gonna knock you out. But outside of that, because that's a choice for me to hold that, you know?
I think it's everything that everyone has contributed is valid information and processing. And the key is different people can have different processes. It's not a cookie cutter. It's not a one size fits all. Because like he was an introvert, you know, he vaulted. I used to say you're vaulting down because he was like a vault. Like trying to get information out of him was like, good God Almighty, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it was his defense mechanism.
Okay.
Because of all that he had been through. Where me, originally in a marriage, I needed to talk about it and talk about it right now. And we gonna talk about it till the cows come home until we get to the root of it, right
now.
Which was not how he processed.
He's opposite too.
And so it did. And so trying to learning each other and learning how you need to process. And then y'all, the fabulous word, then communicating, hey, I'm going to need a minute, you know, but you got to meet in the middle. Because it used to be, I want to talk about it now, and it would just send it up because he's not talking, I'm trying to talk. So we had to learn to meet in the middle. While now, unless it's an extremely urgent thing, I know to give it a day, depending on, you know, give him a minute to process, put it out there. Hey, can we talk about this? Or, you know, we need to talk about X. And then we meet in the middle, right? And then to Jayla's point, counseling to me, that person can help you figure out the best process for you because sometimes we don't know. And they can help point out, oh, well, you may want to give him a minute, D. Like he may need, you know, put it out there. And again, if it's not life-threatening, earth-shaking, give him a day. Say, hey, can we plan to talk about this tomorrow at 8? And that gives him time to process, think about it, be prepared, and it gives you time to kind of de-escalate, et cetera, et cetera. So that's one of the methods that really helped us when we learned how to take a step back and look at how does he process and handle information and need to get to the root versus me, because if they're conflicting, it's going to send it up.
But you have to find a balance where one person doesn't feel slighted. For example, if, like him, a lot of times he needs time. That I struggle with that. I want to address it now. And he's like, we're not.
Not the timer going off.
What does that mean?
Nothing.
It means it's time to land the plane.
Okay. All right. So I'll just make the last statement. I was saying that he needs his time. And with me, I want to discuss it right now. He's like, but we're not getting to the bottom of anything right now, so we just need to go cool off. And I'm like, cool off when? Till you feel like talking? So sometimes the person that wants to talk now could feel slighted if we have to wait until you're comfortable.
But you guys,
right?
That was me.
Go ahead.
But his thing is, like, I guess what he's learned over time is like, okay, I can't just not give you any type of time frame. So how about we come back in a couple of hours? And then I have something to look forward to.
Yes.
I don't feel like he's just blowing me off.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's helpful.
Absolutely agree.
And I'm the same way and have been the same way because I understand myself. I know what happens. It's like a grenade. When you pull that pin and you don't give me enough time to put the pin back in there, it'll potentially explode.
Have you ever seen The Incredibles? Jack, the baby. That's what we call him.
The Jack.
I go from 0 to 900 quickly, and a lot of people are like, we can't see that in you. I'm like,
the calmest people are the ones.
Well, he says the same thing. He needs to make sure that he's calm and he doesn't.
Because when I feel my ears getting hot, you need to back up off me, and or I just need to get away because. Let me say this: I have been able to stick it in a box and only let Jack out when it's necessary. And I tell everybody, and I've told Jess, the Jack that's in there keeps this house safe. He comes out.
Well, okay.
He do, because I ain't finna play. Like, try it. He light skinned, but try it.
Yeah, dark skin swag. Dark skin swag.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and land this plane, and I'm gonna do like a small little cute exercise. So something that I've read is when you're finding your marriage partner, you have to. This is like an opinion, obviously, but You have to find someone that can get you through the death of your mother and the death of your father. Do you feel like you found that, and why?
Oh, me first? Yeah, I she makes me feel almost invincible. I can't imagine going through highs and lows in life without her, because I know the type of woman that she is. So having that is just like, you know what? I know one day I'm going to have to bury people close to me. Mm-hmm. And when you go through things like that, you want somebody close to you. Mm-hmm. And I feel that because she's so in tune to me, because she loves me so much, that I feel like that she would just go above and beyond to help me through these processes. Mm-hmm. And I know that I would be there for her too. Like, even with her and, you know, going through with her current friend right now, it's just like, it's like, man, you know, I'm checking on her. I'm like, how are you feeling? Are you okay? You know, like, we were driving here. She's at Rush Hospital and we were passing by. And she was just like, man, we're here. You know, I was just like, man, call, see if they'll allow you to come up, you know, after we leave. You know, so just, I think it gives you a sense of security and comfort knowing that you have somebody in your corner that can, you know, just be there for you in good times and bad times. So,
okay.
What about you?
Oh, definitely. Because I'm sure, you know, just through dating in life, there's a lot of different type of men out here in this world.
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh, and I've had a few different personalities. Okay, and I've been with the non-feeling, non-caring, nonchalant, non-empathetic type man, and that just doesn't work for me. One of the reasons I fell in love with him was how, like, he would just focus on my feelings, my thoughts, what I cared about, remember things that I told him. You know, I'm like, oh my goodness, really? So I know for a fact that he would be the support system that I would need. You know, I'm the type of person where I think I'm so strong, so I may not bring it up all the time, even though I'm battling with it. But I know if I do speak to him and tell him what's going on, he's very supportive of that. So.
Oh, that's awesome. And what is one piece of advice that you could give to them as they're getting ready to, I was going to say, consummate the marriage?
We practicing.
Right. He said the next episode. So I'm gonna plug Calvin real fast and say that what Dee Dee said is actually very, very accurate. Not that I need to qualify it, but I saw him in the window when they pulled up, and he opened the door and waited until she got out. And then he made certain that she was the first person through the door. And then he made certain that she came down the stairs that he held her hand as well.
He's a gentleman.
Yeah.
My nose was open for the beginning.
So the one thing that I will say that I can offer as advice, man to man, we were just kind of talking about it, is getting to the point where you can have an immediate conversation. Because that's going to be important as you move down the line. Your sons are watching how to treat a woman. They're watching how to deal with conflict. And the sooner you teach them emotional intelligence, you're not always mad. You're sad, you're hurt, you're disappointed. And as men of color, we're always seen as being mad. And so it's important that you're teaching them how to teach their future wife so that, you know, you can replicate what she fell in love with. So just, you know, just think about that. Being able to keep that pen in and have those conversations. You're halfway there because you guys communicate already, but you've got to be able to communicate, you know, better and take the steam out of
it. Not everybody turned it this way. One, I'm just so proud of you guys and just so grateful that we're able to have an example for our audience and everybody out there of awesome Black love as you all are prepping to blend, and to have mature individuals who you have put in hard work and learned from your past and your previous experiences, and being willing to supply the grace and the mercy. You have the example that everything wasn't, picture perfect, but you worked through that because you saw his heart. And so I think it's just an awesome example. And y'all use the word communicate more than we ever do, which again is I'm just like, it's phenomenal. So the one thing that I guess I would leave as a parting suggestion, but I feel like you may have it all on lock to a large degree, is just continue to be consistent with the prepping and the planning, and carry that in and keep that consistent while the boys are all growing up. And what I mean by that is, and I don't know if you guys have already or plan to engage premarital counseling or not, but they don't fold in blended family topics into that. At least we didn't have it, and everyone we speak to, unfortunately, it is not yet part of a lot of the majority of premarital counseling, whether through your church and whatnot. They may know you're a blended family, but it's not, blended family topics are not being addressed. So continuing to create y'all agenda and continuing to work together on your strategy, how to move your family forward, as far as, okay, hon, what are the steps that we can do to try to keep making progress with your your son's bio dad and your ex-wife, your son's mother, because at the end of the day, keeping the kids the core of doing all that you can to have as healthy of an environment for them that you can is so important. It's so important. And so if you don't already have it, what are the things that have you gone through everything to that's on the blended family prep list, from navigating bio parents and civil co-parenting relationships and strategies, and talking through, one of the biggest things is finances and preparing on that, and making sure you're being transparent with all of the logistics that are tied to that, and at least putting on deck, well, what happens if I'm already paying child support over here, but little Johnny winds up needing braces, and that's an extra $2,000, and then I'm being asked to come out of. There are all these little nuances that come up in blended families that we really just want to put out there for people to start to think, man, okay, wait a minute, let's at least talk about it, put it on the radar, so that, to your point, it's not something that shocks you, surprises you, and becomes a trigger. Does that make sense? So the short of that long, sorry y'all, y'all know I can talk, is preparation,
coming to a theater
agenda. Oh my God. It being consistent with what's your prepping to blend, what's your agenda and topics that you all are going through, and if there's something that you haven't yet touched, put it on there, and then agree on how your frequency and how you're working through and talking through those things. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Awesome. Well, thank everybody for coming to this episode of Pickens Realities and Blended Family Truths. Be sure to go to www.jessicapickens.com. Get your free gift. Okay? Get the free gift. And then...
Well, first of all, also, Calvin, please let the people know. Tell them about your show. We do want you to, because listen. What'd you say?
She didn't let me land. I was going to say, okay, and now Calvin, But okay, go ahead, Calvin.
Yes, so I am the director, the creator, and one of the co-writers of a TV show called The Coleman Show.
Woohoo!
It is currently streaming on Amazon Prime and Tubi. It's a hilarious show. It's a 10-episode sitcom. I am also one of the actors. One of my boys, my youngest son, he's also an actor in the show. Nice. It's a beautiful family show. Actually, the show has a blended family in it. Okay. So there you go. Yeah, but y'all go check it out on Prime and on Tubi. Leave a comment, leave a review, follow the page, The Coleman TV Show.
I was gonna say book him for work, but we ain't saying that.
We ain't saying that. And
He
Miss
said,
D-
"Don't y'all call him for another job."
Not right now. Not right now.
Miss
what
D,
do you
yes,
have
please.
going on?
Nothing I guess that I want to promote per se.
Man, please, y'all look up Double D's Delights on Instagram.
That's what I went for. I went for it.
Yo,
Tell him, Calvin. Tell
caramel
him.
cakes,
Oh.
German
Woo!
chocolate, red velvet. She is the
With
goat at
carrot
cakes.
Yeah.
She
Oh,
makes it
I'm
all.
coming
man.
through. I'm
She-
coming through.
What?
Yeah.
So tell him where to find her again. Where they find your boo at on Instagram again, Calvin.
It's Double D's
I'll
Delights.
put the link on
There you go.
There
That's
you go.
right.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, and then we do have our prayer journal. My mom's prayer journal. She's a published author, y'all.
Well, this is published. I'm working on the actual book,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
published.
She published.
I'm, we gonna the whole. I take that word seriously, but thank you. So, Strengthening Blended Families 30-day prayer prompt guide and prayer journal. The whole intent and purpose of this guide, again, like Jayla said, go to the website jessicapickens.com, click on free gift, download that. And what that is a 30-day affirmation guide for blended families, Strengthening Blended Families 30-day affirmation guide that you can then work with this prayer journal. So it's 30 days of here's the prayer prompt specific to having a healthy blended family and connecting with God on topics specific to your blended family, and then journaling about them, praying about the scripture, affiliated scriptures at the bottom, and then write it down. And I suggest the wife or wife to be have a copy and the husband or husband to be have a copy. You do it separate, but then come together and discuss what you thought, what he thought, and how do you come to the middle. So yeah, you can go to my website and order a copy.
Okay, so they're the same one. They're just different.
Same one, two
Okay.
different print shops.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
so
Okay.
same one.
you.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for coming. We
Yep.
really enjoyed you guys.
Thank you.
Turn our post notifications on, subscribe, like, comment, share, and comment below if you think sugar and butter go in grits or if salt and pepper go in grits. All right, we'll see you guys
Salt,
next
pepper,
time.
and butter.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Peace.
Bye.